Enter the upwards spiral. We're in the meat and the bones of the course now, finally. And this is all about how we can induce emotions for peak performance, very specifically, and what the feedback loop actually looks like, what the components are that I find are really useful to understand so that we can tap into them, and how to make this work for us. So, building blocks of emotional mastery is 3 things. 1, understanding that emotions, or also gratitude, the easiest one, psychological factors, and physicality, hormones, coordination, nervous system, all impact one another. And what we are doing here is we are using Pareto's law to enhance the feedback loop efficiently from all angles, meaning that we're doing the minimum effective dose. We're giving just enough in each of these areas in a controllable way that they enhance this feedback loop, making emotional induction easier and more effective. So a lot of the time we talk about mental training because the mind affects the body and the body affects the mind, and that's a feedback loop. But if we don't think of emotions as this other thing that we can train in a very specific way, we end up overworking in the first 2. And emotions have an enormous impact on the mind and an enormous impact on the body. So we'll be going through some key concepts for emotional induction. We're going to start with identifying the difference between a cognitive and an emotional experience of an emotion, and how the speed at which we process both is different, and the power of pausing. Next, we're going to move into looking at physicality and posture, different things like facial feedback hypothesis and power poses and modern posture and acting, and how we can use all of these things to our advantage to create physical shifts that will affect our mental state and our emotions. Next, we move on to the nervous system, and we're going to look at the continuum of parasympathetic to sympathetic, or known as rest or relax, and stress or high intensity survival, and the differences between those 2 ends of the continuum, and the difference between awareness and focus, and how we can use that to our advantage. Next, we're going to briefly visit the heart-brain connection and how neurons are in and between the heart and the brain, and that interacts and how those things interact and how that influences our emotional state. And I did say neurons in the heart. So the idea that we have mini brains in other parts of our body. So it's not just the brain that is guiding everything neurologically. Then we're going to just talk a little bit about climbing the emotional scale as we have before, but just with a little bit more extra information, and the idea that we can use gratitude as a way to travel from low level to high level emotions without faking it, and to access even higher level emotions than gratitude. So last but not least, in the last module, last section of this of emotional induction, I'm actually going to take you through a gratitude induction in real time. And I will walk you through all of these concepts that we went through in previous modules, so that when I tell you to think about it, or I give you a cue to move you through this meditation, which will only take a couple of minutes, maybe 5 minutes, we'll see when I'm done recording it, you will experience a very drastic shift, because you're able to pull from the mental, from the physical, from the emotional, and your understanding and the depth that you have gained in this course so far. Let's go.